there, baby. Stay.
Hey, gang. Friday. We're here. It's happening. So is the sentencing. That's done, I think. Hulk Hogan's being booed, and The Undertaker is not. So for those of you who think that it's because he's a Trump supporter, apparently it's okay for The Undertaker. Oh. There we go. I think that's so. I don't know why it is I've got to set the zoom on my camera every day. But yeah. So yeah, come to think of it, I don't see Tan Talk on today. I don't know what's going on. They're hanging out with Matt Deemer too much. Well, till everybody else gets here, we got somebody that's on time. The guy on the right.
I try to be.
Yeah, no, you're always fine. Welcome. Good to see you again, as always.
You as well?
Yeah. So I saw your one comment in our chat, and I'm like, of course he's going to be the one to make that.
Which was about the.
Which one do you think I'm? Which one do you think I'm going to talk about?
And Trump not knowing how discretionary budgets work, or
no, that's another one. I think
I would snarky on a lot of the topics this week because I think most of it is so preventable, it's laughable. But yet we keep getting ourselves into these stupid situations.
Well, the one that I was not surprised to see come from you was about the Supreme Court not being bought and paid for.
Right. But people ignore rulings like today, where 3 conservative justices side with liberals. They ignore those. They just they pay no attention to it. Yeah.
To be fair to them, they've shot him down unanimously already too.
Right. That's what, and that's my point. Is that's why it makes me so mad when people try to delegitimize the Supreme Court specifically, because like you can disagree, like obviously within the court itself there's disagreement, but to try to say it's illegitimate because they disagree with you, even though like in today's case I'm sure liberals agree with them, but there will not be an article written on any of those Twitter accounts or any of they won't praise the Supreme Court for getting this right. And that's what bothers me. They only call out the bad, never the good. It's kind of like, obviously we only hear about the airplanes that crash. We don't hear about the thousands every day that take off and land with no problems whatsoever.
Right.
But that's the nature of news. That shouldn't be the nature of covering the Supreme Court or Congress or anything like that. You should be covering everything because the Supreme Court is not like airplane crashes. It's not like tens of thousands of times they take off a day. So yeah, it bothers me. And I kind of figured this would be the outcome, by the way, especially knowing that there was no way the sentencing was going to mean a thing anyway. So why would they get in the way of it?
And what are they going to do? Send him to jail a week before he gets inaugurated?
Well, they can't. If they would have sentenced him to any sort of like prison or anything, he would have had to do it after he was the president. Because like we say, the states cannot supersede the president's authority to be president, can't indict and can't.
And that's what I mean. The states can't supersede federal.
Right, but the president specifically, they cannot charge the sitting president with a crime. They cannot do and so, you knew that was where this was going to go. I mean, I knew they were doing sentencing, but I was like, they're not going to sentence him. They're going to say, it's what I mean. I didn't know this exact legal phrasing, but
yeah, Matt had a good explanation of it. That basically the end result is he is guilty.
right.
He's forever guilty. He's going to go into the presidency as a convicted felon. The end.
But what's here? My question about that would be, what is the point?
It's a win-win.
No, it's not.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
I think he
But
cares.
everybody else that does knows there's a felon in the White House.
Yeah, but
and
like
nothing
my point is,
Republicans can do about it.
my point is like take away President Trump out of this. What is the point of prosecuting someone, finding them guilty, and then saying you don't have to do anything for it though? We just want you to have that label. Does that ever happen? I know time served is a thing that happens for sure, and there's also situations where, there was a movie about it where, what was the movie? It was like an exorcism movie, but it was really more of a courtroom drama, and it was based on a real story where this priest had done this exorcism.
Let's pick this up after.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, sorry,
Yeah,
say that.
we're actually.
Hey, Matt.
I saw the 30-second alert from T-Tan, or Tan Talk. But we're on 14. What is Tan Talk anyway? And let me look here. 1340 and 1350 and 106.1 and 102.3. WTAN and WDCF. We're also on again, and for good now, 1400 and 107.1. KSHP. You got to west of the Mississippi. Isn't that the rule?
No, I don't think so, because we've got W's and K's here. We've got both.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're in
I mean,
Oklahoma.
it's west and east. Maybe it's not the Mississippi, but it's somewhere. KSHP. We are now 3 days a week on K-Shop. We'll be back on K-Shop on Monday morning at 8 with Up the Middle and Both Sides Now. It's only Monday's a 2-hour show for us, but it's only 1 hour on Mondays, and it's the first hour. So now we're Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on KSHP in Vegas. We got Clearwater and Dade City. And we got, it's not official, but it's coming. What is official? We're just not starting yet. And I got to look at my keyboard to get these call letters down. WZQR in Pineland, Florida. On Pine Island, it's down by like Naples. So we're developing the network that I wanted up and down the coast. And I want to do that in other markets as well. And then also coming soon is the DNRstudios.com. Derek and Romaine. They got their start on the OutQ network, I think it is called, or was called, on Sirius XM. As far back when Sirius and XM were still two different networks.
Two different. They merged.
Yeah. Well, they started there, I guess, during the merge process. So Sirius put them on both right away in what was called the OutQ network, the LGBT channel. And then unfortunately, in the ultimate wisdom of Sirius, which I think was a stupid move, but they got rid of that channel and as such got rid of Derek and Romaine. They went independent and they're on a subscription-only network of their own. So we're going to be joining that, which is pretty awesome. And then I want to pull these up because you got to see them. And I know for those of you on radio, it's going to suck, but I'll put it on the page. I'll put it on in the show notes. Hold on. I got from our one buddy that's helping us in some networking who did this for us. Oh, that's the minivan. Oh, I can put that up. I got to share this. You guys talk a little bit while I figure this out. You had some active chat this morning?
Oh, the news was active this morning.
All right, this week. Actually.
Look at that. Your weird. Let's pick up weird. I'm not even gonna say it. What is that, dude?
Wrapped minivan.
My rape. Date rape vehicle.
I was gonna say down by the river, like
no, because you can see through the glass.
Yeah, you can see through the glass. Yeah, exactly.
Into the vehicle, it's not creepy enough if you can see into the vehicle. So I think that's a good thing. Don't do a tint on this. In fact, you might just roll around town with the windows down. Oh, except you can't because you got a graphic on one of them. Okay, so front windows down though is what I would say.
Front windows down. And the
Well,
Dodge
so,
Caravan.
For those trying to figure out what we're talking about on any audio only radio or whatever, I'm taking my black minivan and turning it into a business expense and wrapping it with the parent company of Mastiff Media, and putting on stuff on like the phone number 1-888-88 Yergs.
You're gonna get some calls while you're just in traffic,
Oh yeah, and what that's going to force me to do is not drive like an a-hole.
Hey, that can be a good thing. Yeah,
That's exactly why I did not wrap my car during the campaigns. I was like, you know what? I like driving fast. I'm not dealing with any of this.
Yeah, that's a pretty good thing. Like, you got to watch out for when you've got that sticker that identifies you a little bit. You don't want to be. I think of that often.
Yeah, I don't. I didn't even mess with that. Yergs, you're going to be how old are you? Yergs, 55? 53-year-old, long-haired, hippie-looking dude getting out of the van. Just make sure 500 feet from schools, bro. That's all.
Yeah.
We don't need calls. We don't need that.
Yeah. There's none.
It's pretty good.
There's the high school is not far, but
we don't care where the high school is. You don't care where the high school is.
You don't want to know.
Don't even have that on your GPS.
Pretend you don't know.
I did because when I adopted Zach, that would have been the school he would have went to.
Yeah, but you've got to just pretend you don't know where the schools are.
And how old is Zach?
Well, he's 20 now. He's in college.
Yeah. So high school is not even on your vocabulary anymore. Just please stop.
It's not.
This is just protecting you,
help.
man.
We're just trying to help.
I appreciate
you fit the profile.
It is one of those things. Have you ever done that? Like where someone like unknowingly is doing or saying something that you're like, ooh, that's not, you shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. But I like
look at, wait, do we have Mastiff Media gold coins? Are you going to go Donald Trump gold coins now?
Heck yeah.
Do you have a cryptocurrency coming now? You have a
coin? It looks more like a penny, but this was the first rendition of our challenge coin, which actually came about by accident. It was, if you see the green one there on.
Yes, I did say that, Ken. Ken, why did you change your profile picture? You look like a Muppet right now. What is that?
What's Ken up to?
Ken's chilling. I'm gonna. I just ripped on Ken. I like Ken though, but
he does. He looks like Beaker.
I was gonna say he looks like Beaker. That is funny, dude. I was thinking the same thing.
All-time favorite Muppet, by the way.
Ken is our African American Beaker.
I love the Muppets. I think that the best idea I've seen lately is why is Disney wasting all this time doing live action remakes of their movies when they own the Muppets and could do Muppet remakes of all of them? And I agree wholeheartedly.
That is hilarious.
I want to see Muppet versions of all the movies. I think that would be better than anything.
That would be great.
My favorite.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But so this came about. My friend John from where's my other. Build a Space is the name of his company, and like Mastiff.media, his web address is pretty amazing. It is builda.space, which is pretty creative and good use of all the new suffixes or whatever they're called, .com, .net, and all that stuff.
It's a lot better than the California wildfire one, which was just URL apparently.
Which is what?
Oh, she's a failure. But we'll get into that.
Okay.
The LA mayor announced out loud at the press conference, and you can go to URL. And like obviously it was temporarily probably on her sheet as URL, but she's giving one the actual website to go to.
She fumbled this whole thing.
She's like a Bidenism.
Yeah, it's like a Biden or Trump thing for sure, but I feel like she's not getting.
When you read the note on the
it's like
teleprompter.
Yeah, exit statement.
Wait for applause. Wait for applause.
Yeah, I had to throw it in there.
So John from Build a Space, and he's putting together like a actual serious version of LinkedIn called bizgrowthcollective.com. You actually have to have an EIN to be a member of this. You can't just have a business and a Facebook page and start networking. You actually have to be a real business, which I think is amazing. But he was doing some graphic stuff with the coin, the green coin that my ex did for doggy traders. And he came up with this like brass or a copper penny. And he also did this one for the cartoon logo that we had. And I'm just liking, what's the other one? Where's the other one at? There's another one that's a cartoon coin that the circle part looks like the end of a casing, like from around.
Yeah. No, you showed that one. I've seen that one. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen that? Okay. And
Yeah.
then the eyes in all of them are blue. And that's because of my connection to the law enforcement community, like the thin blue line and so on. So, I'm always going to be in law enforcement. I'm always going to be watching. That's kind
of not from the van.
Yeah, deep. This is really deep, guys. Can we get into some news?
Let's do it. Yeah, we got a lot of news to get.
We got a lot of news to come on. Yes, I'm sick of talking about Jurgs's deep blue line.
Last week we had like nothing, and this week it's everything. It's like we gotta come on, guys, give us the news.
Let's get into it. And we don't need to see your email, Jurgs. We don't need to see your
that's all gone.
Your OnlyFans subscription.
Well, that's updates. Funny. I was emailing Derek Hartley from Derek and Romaine about an hour ago, and I wanted to pull up something to share with him. I think I was trying to send him the PDF of the minivan, and I pulled up my web browser, and I'll just leave it at, there was this sexy young Australian man there that I'm a huge fan of, and I'll just say, speaking of huge, anyway. Trump is sentenced. Blake got that.
Never. There's nothing to get. It was pretty blatant.
Yeah, it wasn't that subtle.
This is AM radio, sir.
Yeah,
that's why
I promise you, nobody driving their car wants to hear about your huge Australian.
Yeah,
his dingo.
I don't know.
He wants to hear about his native dingoes.
Anywho, what's the first thing we're talking about? We should.
There's a list today.
There's a lot.
Or his didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo's better. Yeah, that's
better. So I think probably the biggest two things are probably the California fires. But even before that, I think we can do the first one rather quick, and that is Trump being sentenced.
Yeah,
we alluded to that already, but. He's for the 34 counts. He's a felon. Done. It's over. But he's not going to do jail. We all knew that was not going to happen, even though I told you guys the Secret Service had already done a site survey of Rikers Island. Yeah.
Seems like a waste of resources. It was never going to happen. But
no.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I don't know why that happened. I started the Blake timer. Remember when that from a couple of weeks ago?
That was fast because I said one sentence there.
Where I limited you to 45 seconds.
That's called inflation, sir. You're getting devalued.
I'm getting less for my money.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So Trump.
I disagree. Wait. I just want to say I disagree with that. That's not a waste of time or money. I mean, if it's a possibility, you have to do the due diligence. That's kind of like what we'll get into the California fires. Like, when we saw like the Joe Rogan podcast come out and said, hey, the firemen say that all you need is a Santa Ana to win and it's unstoppable, the fire. That should have been due diligence at the beginning. Might have been a waste of money. Might not happen for 20 years. Probably should have done something about that.
A lot of thought on that, actually.
Anyway, continue, Jurgs.
Let me say that we had just finished doing what's called a desktop exercise. Basically, when all relative entities come into a room, and they sit in a conference room and they basically play Monopoly with life.
Yeah.
Meaning that they go through a what if scenario and there's actually like a miniature train platform.
I feel like I would love this, by the way. This sounds like my dream.
This is a cool thing to take part.
Very fun.
And like the head of the committee says, okay, it's the inauguration. Where's everybody going to go? And they do their thing. They put everybody where they're going to be. And then they go around entity to entity and give a presentation. Okay. It's 11 o'clock. We're about to be inaugurated or whatever the time is. I forget it. And there's a chemical alert. There's a hazmat situation. Now what? And everybody does their thing and react. And it's basically It's everybody that's going to be in what's called the MAC, the Multi-Agency Command Center, MACC. And they just go, Monday morning quarterback on Saturday, before game day.
Before the day. Yeah.
So the Secret Service did this thing where if there were to be an attack on the White House, how would we expand the perimeter? What streets get shut down? How far does that perimeter go and why? And at what point do we shrink back? Et cetera, et cetera. That was less than a week before September 11th.
When, I mean, by all accounts, that other plane was probably heading towards the White House.
It was
100%.
The CIA learned that the one that hit the Pentagon was meant for the White House.
Oh, I was talking about the one that went down in Pennsylvania. I thought that one was.
No, that was going to Chicago.
I don't know.
No. There was. Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you. I thought it was going the other way. I thought it was going east.
Did I never tell you that story?
It was going east, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was going east.
Okay. Chill out. I was a rookie agent. I was in my first year in the Secret Service. We have a position in every field office called the duty desk, the on-call agent.
He said duty.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I always pronounce it properly. I don't make sure it's a T and not a D. I don't want to be talking about anything else like large Australians or anything.
Yeah, you're all for the D. I got you.
And it was my first day. It was Tuesday, September 11th. My first day working the duty desk. And I'm the afternoon guy. So I'm coming in later the afternoon. In the morning, I'm going to this meeting that's run by the Pennsylvania State Police. And I get a call from a girl that I was seeing at the time saying a plane just flew into the World Trade Center. And, blah, blah, blah. We know what happened. But we all got sent home. And because I had a landline telephone in my house, in my apartment, which then was a real landline telephone, as in the phone company comes.
Yeah. We were all alive back then. Come on.
Okay.
We're all old enough.
Whether it's our stories.
What is that?
That was me. Sorry.
No,
I'm looking at a webpage that did an autoplay ad. The worst.
I spent the rest of the day sitting on the edge of my bed because that's where this phone was in my apartment, talking to intelligence services that I promise you do not know we have. And then I would call the special agent in charge of the office and brief him directly, bypassing like 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of management in between he and I. And one of the things we learned was that the terrorists could not find the White House because by comparison, it was not a big building when compared to the Capitol, federal buildings in major cities, the Pentagon, and it's also hidden by other buildings and trees. So you can't see it. And what they didn't know how to do was a triangulation of the other monuments that are in the downtown DC area.
Yeah, their flight training wasn't exactly robust.
Well, it was actually down here. It was
here too.
People's.
My brother's old boss testified at one of the guy's trials because he tried to fly with him, and he was like, "I called the FBI. It's kind of weird that this guy wanted to learn how to fly but not land."
Yeah.
Okay, so wait. We got to go back to Rikers Island, and we have to go back to Trump.
Why?
We don't have to talk about Trump.
Well, that's what we're talking about, actually. And that is that they couldn't find the White House because they didn't know how to triangulate all the monuments. If you look at the monuments from the sky, it forms a cross. If Jesus was lying on his back looking up at the sky while lying on the cross, the Capitol building would be the feet. The Washington Monument would be the chest and the heart. The Jefferson Memorial would be the right hand. The Lincoln Memorial would be the head. And the White House would be the left hand. And if you knew that, you could line up the Jefferson with the Space Needle, the Washington Monument, and connect the dots right into the White House. They didn't know that, so they couldn't find the White House. and so they hit the Pentagon instead.
Now they do.
I don't know.
Good job,
By
yours.
the way, I don't buy the Chicago thing because they turned around in Ohio. I'm looking at the flight path.
So they were not the only. That's why everything was grounded.
Well, yeah, okay.
Because they knew that there were other sites. One of which was the Sears Tower in Chicago, the Space Needle in Seattle, the Constitution Center and Independence Hall in Philadelphia, which is right across the street from the Federal Building where we were, and others throughout the country. The Arch in St. Louis, the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. All of those were targets.
But they didn't have people on flights to do those, right? We would have figured that out.
Yes, they had people assigned to it. Whether those flights even got off the ground, nobody knows. I mean, people know.
Did we arrest those people?
I've even got a suspicion about one of those flights, and that's the one that you were talking about. Have you ever seen a debris field of a crashed airplane?
Well, yeah. I mean, not in person.
How big is it?
Depends on lots of things.
Well, I'll tell you how big it's not. Shanksville had a 10-mile radius from the impact, or what they know is the impact, to the extremities in every direction. That is 20 miles wide. No crash has ever been 20 miles wide.
So you're trying to say it got shot down?
100%.
I
believe, I'm not saying that I know this, because I wouldn't be able to say that if I did. But when you hit the ground and explode, a lot of your energy has already been taken out of you by hitting a planet.
Not with that much fuel.
When you explode up in midair, you go outwards and then fall to the ground.
I believe it.
And I have no problem with that.
I have no problem with that. I think at the time, if somebody said, "Oh, we shut down Americans," and there would be really, even in hindsight, if you set up now that came out like, "Oh, we shot it down," everybody would understand like, "Hey, this could have caused a lot of damage," but and I understand it, but it would still be.
It's totally understandable. It's
totally understandable.
It's justifiable.
100%.
I don't think it happened though.
Why not?
You wouldn't have the
name one other crash. Name one other crash with that big of a debris field.
I don't have like the stats on every plane crash kind of thing. I'd have to look into it. But the stuff I've looked into, every 9/11 conspiracy theory I've ever looked into was easily debunked. And so I'll look into this one too. But the reason I don't think it got shot down is because the timeline of the calls we have of the people trying to take over the plane, like we can see where the people took over it. We can see the flight path change.
Right.
So we know that
you don't think that's suspicious?
No, I don't. I think the passengers fought back. They realized they were going to die.
Have you tried, especially in the early 2000s, when you weren't even allowed to have your phone on? How many times, if you did have your phone on, did you even come close to getting a signal?
They knew what was happening, and they did. They weren't that high off the ground. They can get a signal, and they were calling on their. They were calling on the phones in the plane too.
No,
they were calling on the plane.
Like, most of them were allegedly calling on their mobile phones.
No, they called on. Most of them called on the phones in the plane
because there's only one per row.
The point is,
guys, since we're talking
because we don't need to talk.
Since we're talking about old news, I just brought up something from 1937. Churchill blamed labor regime for coal crisis. If we want to keep going blast from the past, I mean, why don't we just kick it all the way back?
About the current stuff, but we can debate 9/11 conspiracy theories another time. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have some Bigfoot and Loch Ness monster things that I have to get off my chest too.
Okay, well, that's a shout out to Glenn Sportcat Jackson, who every Wednesday night on Yerg's Radio has the para or normal guys.
There you go. It was just a plug.
I fell into that one. Can we talk about Trump's sentencing and move on, please?
Yeah, let's talk about Trump.
What else do you have left about Trump sentencing?
Well, I mean, I'm asking the question.
We didn't give each other opinions about. Do we agree with what happened?
Like, what is the point
of things yet?
Yeah, what is the point of saying someone's guilty but not punishing them in any way? And I was bringing up, there was a movie that was made about it. It was like a court case where a priest did an exorcism. The girl died, and they basically found him guilty, but didn't charge him with anything. Didn't sentence him because they whatever. This is clearly a time served, but even that was time served. There's no punishment whatsoever. So what is the point of that?
Didn't that actually happen in the one that Exorcism of Emily?
That's what I was talking about. Right. That's the movie.
Is that the one?
Right. Yeah. And so my point is, I know that there are probably some extenuating circumstances where this happens, but what is the point of bringing a criminal charge against someone, 34 criminal charges? Oh, it's a felony. This is a big deal, but we're like no sentence. What's the point?
He's a Republican rich guy.
Right. But like, what is the point of wasting? Like, what is the point of all the money spent on that? Like, because if I'm attacked here in New York, I'm not happy about
that. I don't think at that time everybody was presuming that there was going to be no punishment.
You're right. You're right.
I think they were trying to get that through before the election, and as a result, get everything else through before the election, to include sentencing and jail time. At which point he would have not been able to campaign. But his lawyers did better at bitching about it and getting it delayed far enough that remember where was it? I think we said it here, but I forget where else I was talking about this week. Maybe it was with Philip on Wednesday. But it's not about the policy. It's about the message. And the Trump campaign got the message out way better than Kamala Harris did. Look at the votes. He had relatively the same amount of votes that he lost with in 2020.
Yeah, Democrats didn't show up for her.
Exactly. It's not that he won.
But he did win over some demographics. But yeah, I mean, she definitely did not. She did worse than Biden in almost every place where he did the same.
And Hillary, she came in third.
Yeah, but I think that I thought this trial specifically, and keep in mind, I think the other three are legitimate cases that should have actually been taken against Trump. I just think this one is so egregiously bad and lawfare and all the things that I think this case won Donald Trump the election.
Those words.
I'm not. Look, I don't use it against all those other ones, but this one is. This was a guy that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then I get to call Trump a Nazi.
Okay, fine. I mean, it's a little different than that. This is lawfare. What Alvin Bragg did was lawfare. He charged a crime against someone that he's never charged. The state of New York has never charged anyone else with this crime. He made it up. That's novel.
Emily Rose. That's what the name of the movie was, or the person.
Yeah. The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yeah. And I don't know all the details. I don't know that the movie is exactly what happened in the real life. I'm not pretending I know the real story.
From what I understand, that's pretty close.
But my point is, I think that this case was kind of a sham, and it's the only one that I defend Trump on because I think it's ridiculous. The documents case, I think, was slam dunk. I think the Justice Department just screwed it up and should have brought it in 2021 or 2022. I don't think that we could have. Same thing with the Georgia one. I think that the RICO thing maybe is a little bit of a stretch, but I think what Trump did in Georgia was illegal. And I think what Trump did with the lead up to January 6th is also illegal, and not his acting as president. I think it was him acting as an individual. And so I think
and that's what I asked Philip on Wednesday. I said, okay, you support him on this policy and that policy and whatever else where I think you're absolutely crazy. Okay, fine. We disagree on politics. How can you support him after January 6th? And for the first time in the history of this show, I got to see Philip mumble a little bit. It was hard.
I think a lot of people feel that way. It bothers me that they're willing to go, I guess I'll forgive that. But I also think that
that's what my problem is. He turned it around and said, well, when it came down to election day, I took his policies versus hers. I said, okay, fine. If he's a legitimate candidate, fine. But let's call it what it is. The guy's a traitor.
Right. I wish more people were honest about, hey, like, this is bad behavior. This is bad behavior. X, Y, and Z. I don't like this. But at the end of the day, it was still a binary choice, and I still would pick that over the alternative. Then you're being honest about it. What I don't like is the defenders that claim that he's done no wrong. All of these cases where Trump did nothing wrong, and I just think it's ridiculous. Although I do think Trump did nothing illegal in this specific case that he's a felon for now. That's just,
I partially agree with you.
Or beyond a misdemeanor, I will say.
But
so not 34 felonies.
Not 34 felonies.
Well, felonies like that are labeled by, in most cases, it's either the number of times it can turn into a felony, or with a dollar value, it becomes a felony.
Which, by the way, to even turn it into 34 counts is ridiculous.
You can get busted one time for retail theft, but if it's like in Pennsylvania, where I was a police officer, if it's more than $1,000, it's a felony.
It's a different charge too, potentially based on what you did. Because like, I get all that. My point is they made it 34 counts by saying, well, first he wrote a check and then he signed a check and then he wrote a second check. And it's one act that they tried to extrapolate into 34 counts. And I just, like I said, it's bogus.
No, because that always gets listed each time as well. What I agree with you on is that if you're going to charge him, and I can see where, and I think this is a stupid word or phrase, whatever you want to call it, but I can see where the lawfare comes into play. Because when he lost to Joe Biden, when that announcement was made, immediately the NYPD started taking down the barricades around Trump Tower.
Mm-hmm.
And the site agent said to the lieutenant there that started to do it, a lieutenant or captain, some boss, hey, he's still president.
Yeah.
Their exact words right there in the streets of New York. Not here, he's not.
Yeah, and see, that's what bothers me is that, and like, I don't like Trump. I mean, like we all know this about me. I don't like him. I don't defend him. I'll defend him when I think he's right about something, or if he has a good policy, I'll call it out. When he's wrong, I'll call it out, just like I would for any other politician. But what bothers me is that I think that the charges in New York specifically, made all the other ones that came after it look like lawfare, and I don't think they were. And so it lumped all of them together, and it gave Donald Trump the excuse to say they're just coming after me because they don't like me and they don't like you. And it worked. I don't think Donald Trump, I mean, it's hard to know. I mean, like this is revisionist history.
But,
but
Travis, it brings up a good point from who's, by the way, a host of a Tuesday show. I think, what is it? Put it in the chat, please, Travis. I think The Point with Travis Evans. The most important thing that Trump did was prove that our government is and has always been corrupt. He proved it over and over again. Well, that's why he was pretty much kicked out of New York, was because he was nothing but corruption in New York. And they said, that's it. This is our opportunity. You're out.
Yeah, I think that most of this has been detrimental to the goals that the left or New York or whoever you want to call it is. I think that they've gotten nothing they want other than a label that he's a felon. And they think that that's some sort of victory. And I think they got him reelected again. And so I look at it as
I'm starting to see that.
And so I give them no credit, because for them to gloat and pretend that label of felon is somehow some victory for the United States or the left or whoever, I just think it's ridiculous. It's not a victory. He's going to be the president again.
So that's why I think that this is the only option that you could have for sentencing. This is the only option. I mean, what is the other option? You send him to jail? Then that's not going to happen, because you're going to see.
They could do it after he's the president. They could have said something. I mean, like, to me, even to say like you got to spend 10 days in jail after you finish your second term would have been at least like, I just feel like the whole thing is just not serious.
It's just not serious. I mean, what are you gonna do? Fine him? What's the maximum fine for this? $100,000 to a billionaire? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but even that I would have liked better, because he's not the president yet. And I get that they're like,
it just all doesn't matter. I think that the stigma is going to be there. I mean, and honestly, we can talk about if it's there all day. This is the only thing that could have happened.
Yeah, I just think
it's the only thing that could happen.
My concern is that it will be the my concern is it's going to be the catalyst. This New York case specifically will be the catalyst for Democrats and Republicans going forward to politically prosecute their enemies. And I don't like that. I think that's
well, I mean, we already can see that. That's why Joe Biden pardoned Hunter.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and he basically said that. He's like, oh yeah, he was this was lawfare toward him.
Which is hilarious.
I don't trust. And everybody's saying that he should pardon these other people, like who's the
Liz Cheney
congressperson? No, Liz Cheney.
Like Liz Cheney,
arrest her for something. I don't care what. Just arrest her.
It's ridiculous.
Personally, Travis is saying that he wishes he could comment live on this. Dude, you can call us at 1-888-88-YERGS or 844 gay LGBT. It comes to the same desk as both me, but
yeah, it comes to the same desk. But one, you have to show your didgeridoo before you come on the air.
It's like a recaptcha, except that prove you're a human by showing that
prove you're not exactly.
Glide it over to the correct position.
So yeah, I think this is kind of I mean, I think the other court thing that happened today is probably a little bit more. There's two other things happening in law. I mean, if we're going to cover the law stuff, should we just do it all together? I mean, the Supreme Court's doing two things today too, one of which already happened, which said that well, I mean, they already said that like this could go on, the sentencing thing. So that was right. One of the things that the Supreme Court said, which of course conservative justices sided with, which, as Jurgs and I were talking before we started, oh gosh, it's interesting that every time the Supreme Court does something that people disagree with, it's the court's illegitimate. The second the conservative justices don't do something that's good for Trump, no one talks about it. Like this is not on the top of CNN right now. Probably
you can expect Roberts is like that guy who just is kind of like, oh, I'll jump here or jump there. But I mean, when you have people like Amy Coney Barrett, that is like literally was demonized by the left for so long.
Yeah.
It goes aside with the liberal judges. Huh?
And is one of Trump's appointments.
And is Trump's appointment. Yeah, exactly. It sides with the liberal judges here, liberal judges in air quotes. You really should start asking, like, what is the crux of the position of these courts? And we've seen this over and over and over again. Kavanaugh go from one side to the other, the supposed one side to the other. We've seen it with Gorsuch. And Gorsuch has been very kind of level-headed with a lot of this stuff. He's actually been the most, I would say, conservative of them all. But you've seen him all over the place when it comes to like who he's gonna.
He's sided with the liberal justices a lot,
multiple times. So it's such a BS argument that people are saying, and I don't. I'm very kind of surprised by a lot of these outcomes and going like, hey, you know what? They take their job seriously.
And by the way, I'm right. It is not.
Besides Thomas.
It's not above the fold at CNN, but the Supreme Court TikTok case is. So that's my point, is that we never talk about the cases that are inconvenient to the argument that the court is illegitimate, and it bothers me. And either way, I think the court got both. I think the court's got these things right, even though I think it's kind of a dumb thing that New York wasted all this energy.
I never said that the court was illegitimate.
No, I know you didn't. I'm saying other
people. Yeah, trust me. When we attack you personally.
Yeah. I know you
funny and having a weird
Trump takes it
ban around schools.
I think Trump is the biggest right now, at least at the federal level, the biggest guilty party of that, in that he so often tries to bypass the rest of the court system. And that same thing's happening in North Carolina right now. I just learned about this before we went on the air, so we'll have to talk about it at length on another day. But there was apparently the North Carolina Supreme Court is elected.
Yes.
And there was a tight race this past November.
Same in Ohio, where it's elected Supreme Court.
Okay. Well, there was a tight race this past November that was eventually declared a Democrat as the winner. So, of course, the Republican, backed by the Republican Party, called for an immediate recount, where she won again. So they called for an audit, where she won a third time. Now they took the case to the body that she's going to go to without going through the rest of the court system. And they've even fought against making it a federal case, because they don't even want this to go to Trump-appointed judges.
I don't know how it could be a federal case, but...
Well, it actually was. And there were a similar case where a federal judge said, no, send it back to the state. The federal appellate court said, no, this is federal, take it back up. And this is an identical situation with regard to election, to use Trump's words.
Well, because the thing is, the Republicans are refusing to...
the Republicans are refusing to acknowledge a loss.
No, not just that. Like I think the legislators are refusing to, like, whatever the process is where you actually
they're not stepping in and verifying the election, certifying the election.
Yeah, but there has to be something like
this is the other issue
about it, right?
Yes, the North Carolina Supreme Court, who has a blatant conflict of interest in this because they're the recipient of the subject, has issued a stay on the certification of the election. So now we're going into the new administration and everything. They don't have a quote unquote liberal member on their court. They have a vacancy, but they're going to continue to hear cases anyway.
Yeah, this gets into weird legal stuff where I don't know what the remedy for that is.
Talking about illegitimacy in courts.
Yeah. Although I don't necessarily blame the courts because it's the
Why is the Supreme Court of North Carolina not sending this down to lower courts? Why did they bypass that and issue that stay when they're going to be receiving the Democratic candidate once this is all finally done? If, in fact, she continues to win.
I don't know enough about law to know how that works as far as does an election go straight to the Supreme Court? It did. I mean, by Supreme Court, I mean the state level Supreme Court. It's probably state by state basis. But I mean, I agree. It's an interesting word. And I think it's
Gordon.
Right. But this is the kind of thing where I think people need to pay attention to the amount, like everything worked well.
Keeps it, pay attention. Pay attention.
You got to pay. Well, you got to. Here's what I think.
It's not being covered.
I disagree. It's not being covered. I mean, it's in the New York Times. It's in a lot of stuff. I mean, I've read it. I read about it this week. So I mean, I don't think it's not being covered.
You're a nerd.
Of course I am.
You read about stuff like this.
But
we are all nerds.
Right.
The everyday people, especially those in North Carolina.
I'm sure they're aware of it. I bet they're aware of it in North Carolina.
Well, the number's on the screen. Let's hear from somebody. Come on.
There.
So anyway, speaking of court illegitimacies, I had that. But that's it.
Well, should we go on to
that's Travis's
wildfire?
He said exactly. That's what he said. He said exactly. All right, what were we talking about?
He's got a link there too, which is for his show.
Yeah, I checked it out. And I was like, oh, he's trying to shill his products.
Yeah, he's. I promise you, he's not into any.
Next is gonna pop up his Temu affiliate link.
Temu.
Anyway, so are we done with Trump being sentenced?
I think so. I mean, yeah, I think that it's to me it was just a huge waste of time. I mean, I think that
well, apparently the end result is a huge waste of time.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I think the documents case was as slam dunk of a case as you could possibly have. And the DOJ, I think, screwed that up. I think they could have brought that in 2021, 2022, and maybe gotten it to court. And I think that undoubtedly he would have been proven guilty on that. And I think it would have been, I think it was a much more serious charge. I think when you actually look at the stuff that he was being so careless with in those documents, secrets, like people's lives could be in danger. And he kind of always treated secrets like that. That could have been a real case, but I don't think we ever got the chance because DOJ was slow. New York wanted to be fast, kind of ruined everything. And now we get Trump as president for a second term. So congratulations, Alvin Bragg. You are at least partially to blame for this.
Yeah, I got to say, I actually agree with that. When we come back, I got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the fires and reading from teleprompters like URLs and all kinds of other important. And apparently the accidental evacuation order that was given out last night to the entire city,
whole county.
But I didn't hear about that. What happened?
They sent an accidental. They sent an evacuation order to the entire county instead of the specific
of Los
area.
Angeles.
Which you know how big that is? It's the size of
it's the largest in the world.
Yes,
it's the largest in the world.
Yeah. Or Delaware or something. It's huge. Yeah.
And man.
Well, the other thing about it was, we'll talk about it when we get back.
We'll get back.
What's the freeway there? The 405 that's always backed up?
Yeah, it's all of them. It was, in fact, the 101 through Pasadena and up into the San Fernando Valley was actually closed down.
That's PCH, right? 101's PCH, right?
1340, 1350, 1061, 102, 1400, all of them. WTAN, WTCF, K-Shop, and the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. We'll be back after this. Oh, wrong one. Maybe. All right. Here we go. Translating Trump. Hey, gang, it's Yergs. Every Wednesday at Up the Middle, we add co-host Philip Blackett, a Harvard-educated and frequently published author who happens to be a Trump supporter. Join us as he translates Trump during Wednesday's Up the Middle Politics for the Rest of Us. Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific on K. Hey, gang, it's Yergs. Do you have a podcast? Of course you do. It's probably one of the reasons why you listen to us. Well, I got something for you. Flowsend.ai. All you do is take your pre-recorded data, click, drag, and drop right into the inbox for Flowsend AI. Click a button, and out comes everything that you're going to need. From the transcript to content, such as keywords, titles for your episode, the timeline, posts for LinkedIn, posts for Twitter, Instagram, other smaller platforms, all the things that it takes you hours to do in literally minutes. So go to flowsend.ai. Tell them Yerg sent you and get your subscription today. Worth every penny. Flowsend.ai. All right, first up, in what time we got left, we're going to be losing WTAN and the rest of the Tantalk Network, as well as K-Shop and 99.1 WDJY. You can join us at yergsradio.com, YERGZ radio.com, or go to my Facebook page. It's right there on the screen, Ross Yergs Yerger, and find out wherever else you can get us to include the video. So, California's burning badly, and historically, these are two of the largest fires in their history, and probably some of the closest ones to the actual downtown of the city, particularly the Palisades, the fire.
I think it'll definitely be the most damaging as far as structures go. I mean, I think it's already destroyed
more than 10,000 structures. They're up to, as of before we went on the air, there were 10 deaths, another large number by comparison. And yeah, so did you guys have a map handy by any chance?
I don't have that map. I had them up yesterday, but I've closed all my tabs. I was looking at that stuff yesterday though, because I really kind of dove into this, and what a mess, man. I mean, it is apocalyptic looking. I mean, and I can't.
That's what a lot of people said.
I don't know that California has two of the scariest natural disasters that you can have, in my opinion. Earthquakes, because there is zero warning whatsoever. I mean, you can try to build buildings to withstand them, but it's pretty scary. And then wildfires, because they just happen so fast. And even though we can know the weather's potential, they're just really scary. And it's really sad to see that. The saddest thing about things like tornadoes and wildfires specifically is, or even just a house fire, is there's so much inside of someone's house that is more memories, photos, just like all those kind of things that, you can replace a house. Like that's not a problem. It's like if my car gets totaled, yeah, I love my car, but I can get another one. It's fine. There's nothing that sentimental about it. But my home, I mean, like I just think of all the things inside my house that are irreplaceable. There's no dollar amount that can replace the pictures or my wedding album or things like that. And
stuff like that twice.
Right. And so, and this is happening 10,000 times in LA right now. So it's heartbreaking. But to me, the most heartbreaking thing about all of this is that this is preventable, and California has, it's very hard not to use an expletive to describe how they've managed wildfires, but they have absolutely screwed the pooch on this for decades. And all this stuff from the right about it being DEI or some hydrants were empty or the mayor was in guano. Look, all that stuff's bad. Don't get me wrong. That's not the problem, though. The problem here is that wildfires are preventable by lighting fires, and California refuses to do it. You do preventative burns. Florida's doing great at this. California can't figure out how to do it because they care more about trees than people, apparently, and brush and stuff. And they make it impossible to do controlled burns. And they know they were supposed to do this. Because remember, 2020, we had giant fires in California, too, that were almost this devastating. And they pretended that they've learned from it. And they said, we're going to do more controlled burns. And they just haven't. They have not. They did 40,000 acres of controlled burns last year, and they need to do 1 million a year. And they wanted to be to 400,000. Gavin Newsom in 2021 said they would get to 400,000 acres of controlled burns annually by 2025. And last year they did 10% of that. They're just not doing what they need to do to prevent these from happening. And it's tragic because it's totally preventable. You can't prevent the wildfires from happening, but you can prevent the destruction level that's happening. And Californians have been absolutely failed by their government for decades now. And it just keeps getting worse.
On the, let's see if I can make this bigger. There we go. There you go. There's a map of the greater Los Angeles area. Let's see. Where essentially about where the E in sunset, in the word sunset for Sunset Fire, that is about where I lived.
Yeah, the Sunset Boulevard stuff is tragic just because it's so sort of iconic. Like it's stuff we all recognize from all sorts of things. I think that's the one thing about LA is that it's like New York in the sense that there's all these kind of pop culture icons and stuff that areas, and it's devastating. It's terrible. And that's what bothers me is that the blame game started already. And, Trump's trying to say, I'm not saying these things weren't part of it. Like the mayor should not have been in Guana, like should not have been there. Like she knew the weather report and she didn't seem to rush back either. Like, and I'm not saying the mayor could have made this better, but the mayor should be there for when this happened.
No, look, I'm going to have to, I'm not going to agree or disagree. I'm just going to make my statement. And I think it might be disagreeing with Blake a little bit. First of all, the mayor not being in town is not a big deal, honestly. Because, mayors go places for different things for all the times. She's the mayor of one of the second largest city in the United States. Basically, she's a governor.
But why is she outside the country? And on a day when they know the weather report says the winds are going to be strong and there's a fire danger.
Because you go out of countries for different things. But the mayor over here in Cleveland, hold on, yours. Give me a second. The mayor over here in Cleveland went to Ireland a couple of times. Why? Because they're working on a deal to get direct flights to Ireland and have some kind of relationship with them. Why Ireland? Everybody say, well, it's a little economy. Because that's what you do if you're a mayor, is you try to figure out ways to bolster your economy and make connections. So what is she going to do if she's here or she's not here? 2 minutes for WTAN, by the way, Yergs.
Yeah. So let me do a quick say goodbye to them. Again, you can join us on Yergs Radio, YERGZ Radio, to finish up the second hour of today's show. And you can always join us there anytime. Not that I want to take you away from the Tan Talk Network or K-Shop or WDJY, and actually also America One Radio. But we are still live, and we will still be live on the UG.media. Our friends from across the pond on the channel XL. They've got 2 channels on their website. Go to the UG, as in like the underground.media, like mastiff.media, and click on channel XL. We're still live there and will be until the end of the show. Also on Rainbow Radio, Yergs Radio, and soon to be on DNR Studios. All right, Matt, back to you, man.
Okay, cool. So I think what we should really be focusing on is her lack of apparentness when she got off that plane and she was asked questions by the journalist. Like the fact that we all three probably could spitball this better than she did. Hey, it's a tragic accident. I'm going there to get boots on the ground to try to figure out what's happening. We are going to do everything we can to try to help and save people's homes and save people's lives because I work for the people of Los Angeles. Thank you very much. And get on the damn plane. But what did she do? She ignored it. And then when she made a press conference, it was so put together that she was making mistakes like URL. Look, This just shows her lack of preparedness, her lack of competence, and her lack of confidence in handling the situation. She is not a wartime mayor. She was there when everything was hunky dory. She needs to be recalled, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that she's shown absolutely no competency whatsoever, and not that a competent mayor could have prevented the fire. I don't think that's possible.
Then how does she get this far up the chain in a city like Los Angeles?
I'll tell you why. Can I read this quote from an article?
Oh, we see this all the time in cities, dude. Yeah. This is politics. This is what politics is.
Okay, here's I think Noah Rothman at National Review has a really great article about how this sort of blue state or blue city governance, basically they've stopped doing the things that government was good at doing, fixing roads, bridges, transportation, things like that. And they're trying to like solve inequality and stuff and all these things that we really don't ask government to do. So he says Democrats are wildly overconfident in their ability to not just govern competently, but solve the intractable conundrums that plague modern life. That delusion has produced intolerable dysfunction until voters in blue locales start demanding basic competence of their politicians first and ideological purity second. They will be rewarded with more of the same. And I think that's the problem here is like we're asking people to check boxes of like, oh, are they, and there's some of this going on with like the fire department in LA. They want more women to be fired. And maybe there just aren't that many women that want to be fire people or whatever we call them. But they're like, they won't.
Got a fire chief.
Yeah. So like, it's like they're worried about equity and inequality and all these things that government's not supposed to do. The government needs to have enough firefighters, period. It doesn't really matter what color or shape or size or gender they are. And I think that she is a great, like sort of icon for what is wrong with the way we're electing people. We're electing people based on their ideology, not based on can you competently do the thing that we want government to do.
Well, here's the thing: is
it's a DEI hire.
No, I don't think she's.
Look. I don't want to say any of those things, but here's what I do know for sure. And I think that Travis, who's commented, said he worked on 4 different local campaigns. I've seen it personally. I've seen it firsthand. Is that the Democratic Party? It's politics. Who's most popular with the party? Who plays the game? Then they will go in there and they'll clear the field for the people. Who has the connections? Who can raise the most money? Who knows who's the things? Who can win? Those come into way more conversation than can that person do the job. And then once they pick that person who can raise the money, who has all the connections, who could possibly win, who feels like they are a good candidate, in air quotes, they'll start clearing the field. And clearing the field doesn't mean just going and saying, hey, this person's going to run, this person's not going to run. This means if you run against this person who's a fellow Democrat or you primary this person, your career is done. So either you back off or you're screwed. And so, look, there's many ways that this person, Karen Bass, or any of these elected officials have gotten, and I've seen it firsthand here with people that are running that honestly shouldn't be running. Look, people can say the same thing about me. Maybe I shouldn't be running because I just was trying to go straight from Congress. I didn't do city council and all that other.
That doesn't bother me.
I've heard that too. So
Trump was the presidency, so I don't mind someone going straight to Congress.
I'm just gonna say that to dot my I's and cross my T's, and I'll argue with anybody who wants to say that too. But what I will say is we see that all the time. Competence and resume is at the bottom of pushing these people to the top within the party.
I think there's a lot of conflicts of interest too. Not like, for example, Gavin Newsom comes out 4 years ago in 2021 and says, we are going to do no more. This wildfire stuff's out of control. We've got to do more controlled burns. We're pledging to do this much. He then has been lying about how much they've done. NPR has a thing where he overshot by 690%. He claimed they had burned 90,000 acres preventatively, and they'd only burned 13,000. So he's lying about it. But have you guys read the ProPublica article from 2021 about the fires in California? I'll give you the link here so you can put it in the show notes. But it talks about how even the fire, the Cal Fire Group that has a $500 billion budget annually, some of those firefighters they've prosecuted people for setting fires so they could get overtime. There are gross incentives.
Surprised how common that is.
There are bad incentives, and
look at the law enforcement community, the people that create crime so they can go solve it it's called the hero syndrome.
Yep. And so that's happening to some degree.
One thing about the mayor not being okay with the mayor not being there. President Biden, a lame duck president, canceled, and I know this because a friend of mine was on the trip. No sooner did she land in Rome, they get word that the president's not coming. because he's going to the wildfires. And I got mixed emotions about that. I get it. There's the famous saying, I first heard it in the movie Gettysburg. Nothing so much like God on earth as a general on a battlefield. And so for the statement for somebody like a president to tour the damage, to see what assets need to be provided by the federal government so that they can help, obviously put these things out in the winter when we're not exactly known for having wildfires in the first place.
It's a year round now in California. And part of it is a problem with the.
Wait, are we talking about Biden?
We're talking about Biden visiting the fires. And
the only thing I heard during that whole trip was that he's a great grandfather. So
right.
I don't.
He's not great at the speaking thing, but I'm just saying. Look, weather-wise, I'm in Oklahoma. We have tornadoes. Technology has basically given us where about a week out, we know when there are these like PDS, basically particularly dangerous situations where we know there will be tornadoes in the state. We just don't know exactly where, how bad they're going to be, but the conditions are definitely going to be right. I would be pissed off.
You sound like Donald Rumsfeld with that the status of the orange level,
but it really is. But it really is like that in Oklahoma. Like it will be like, hey,
Robin Williams did a great impression of him on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, but it's like, look,
we don't know how.
Yeah,
we don't know when, but we know something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen.
What is this? Yeah. The Central Intuitive Agency?
Yeah. And so this is like, but we know the day and we know there's going to be tornadoes. We just don't know, are they going to hit the metro? Are they not? I would be really mad if my mayor or governor went out of town on that day. Like, I don't care if it was planned especially for just some ceremonial thing in a different country. Now, if they're going to Indiana to talk about some business thing, fine.
Today, I mean, look at us right now. We're on the internet with listeners in London.
Right. It's not.
I know as a fact, we've also got listeners in Germany and throughout the rest of Western Europe.
And your constituents are the citizens of LA. They are not some guy in Ghana. It was like some sort of medal ceremony. It wasn't like a business thing like Matt was talking about where the guy from Ohio goes to Ireland. That's fine. I'm not saying they can't travel. I'm not saying they can't.
Right.
Like, my point is, she should have
been. I think that is such a nitpicky thing to comment, though.
It's so low.
What is the mayor going to do? Put on a cape and fly around and save people?
Nothing.
It doesn't matter.
But I'm saying it doesn't matter. It adds to the perception that the government does not care about them.
I agree. No, so this goes to what Jurgs was going to say. He could have just hopped on a Zoom.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, here's my both sides to that. President Biden canceled his trip to Italy. A kind of an important trip, given that he's not going to be president next week.
I mean, not that important.
And so he's not going back to talk with the Pope as president. He's not going to do any of those formal dignitary in chief role that he performs. Instead, he's keeping his things at home, like the right has been asking him to do. And he's going to go spend the last week evaluating things at these fires so he can direct FEMA.
Well, that's exactly what he should do.
Contrary to that, well, hold on. The contrary to that is, and I quoted Robin Williams a moment ago. Now I'm going to quote Lewis Black. When he busts on Bush for doing the same thing, he says, "Why? You don't need to be there. You got people to do that for you. You look at them. Did you say, did you do it? And they say, yeah."
Yeah, but there's sort of a mascot thing that goes on too with some of these things. I do wish we'd pair some of that.
That is a reality. Gavin Newsom needs to be there. The mayor needs to be there, and the president is on his way.
There's a difference. Here's what she should have done. Honestly, it doesn't matter if she was gone. Were there fires when she left? No. Were there fires when she was there? She should have made a press statement. I'm coming back ASAP. This is the thing. Right. Hopped on a press conference while she was on the plane. There's internet on planes now, and said, "Hey guys, I'm really sorry. I was in this trip. I had it planned, but now I'm rushing back to." It's such an easy fix. But the fact that she was there and everybody's going to say, "Hey," because she was there, that is such a non-issue.
Right. But that proves
the fact that she didn't handle it properly.
Right. That proves your incompetency.
That does prove incompetence the way she handled it. But the fact that she was there and not in, that's just stupid. I hate that argument. It's just
that's fine. Okay, I'll give you that. That's fine. I mean, I think I would not have gone knowing the weather report if I were the mayor of LA. Then it's like it's one of those things. It's always the same thing, though. Yes. Go Jurgs.
One says she needs to go. The other says she needs to come home. Okay, fine. We get it. Look at the map. I was just about to expand this to focus on like the downtown area of Los Angeles. and the Palisades fire, which, by the way, burned already and counting. This is a day old, by the way. I don't know what keep happening to my camera cable. I think it's the cable. Yeah,
it's a limp didgeridoo.
Yeah,
you got a
problem.
Why don't you just firm it up a little bit and then stick it back in?
I actually just tickled it a little, so
oh
it
boy,
worked.
oh boy.
So, but look at the Palisades fire burned 17,234 acres. This is as of yesterday, so this isn't even accurate anymore because it's growing. The Eaton fire is at 10,600. There's other larger fires. So the Sunset Fire, the Hearst Fire, the Lydia Fire. They're about to lose the observatory. There is a
wait, well, really? The observatory?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's a great place.
That's in between the Eaton Fire and the Lydia Fire.
Oh man.
But look at what's also there.
That place is iconic.
Why are there fires down by Long Beach and Redondo Beach?
Because
that's all urban.
These embers with 100-mile-an-hour winds, which some of the winds when this started were 100-mile-an-hour winds, but they've been sustained at like 40.
Well, people are saying that this is a lot. Some of these are arson. What are they saying?
Yeah, some of them have been. Yes, they caught a guy with a blowtorch. They arrested a guy with a blowtorch setting one. So because now people are, this is turning into anarchy pretty quickly, I think. And
we have looting going on. It's like.
The Los Angeles County Sheriff declared martial law last night and declared a curfew.
Yeah, and
I don't know what time it was. I was on a chat room it's not working today, or we'd be on there right now too. But the chatter is in the process of going from version 1 to version 2. So they're doing some like very minimal updates on version 1, which is what we're all still on, and version 2 is the really good working one. It's just not launched yet. But I was on version 1 last night with some people in LA, and they said that we were all talking when the bogus evacuation order came out, which, to be fair, they read it and it said, this is an evacuation warning. So it didn't say to evacuate. It said, this is a warning, but it went to everybody. It was taken as though it's an actual order. And now it's going down as though an order was given that essentially was actually retracted, even though if you read the damn thing, it doesn't say that you have to leave now. It's saying that it's coming.
Yeah, but still probably sending that to the whole county doesn't help.
Well, that's why it was a warning.
I just think this turns into like, will Californians demand better from their government or not? And that's like, they didn't after 2020. We have the same, like 2022, they reelected Gavin Newsom, even though he didn't do a thing that he claimed he was going to do about these controlled burns and stuff, because like I said, he's fighting special interest. The Cal Fire doesn't want to lose their budget, and the environmental people want to be able, like, it takes, okay, Florida, let's go back to Florida. We can blame this on climate change, but Florida has managed to suppress fires well, because the permitting process is you call a number and you say, hey, I want to do a controlled burn. It takes minutes. You get a permit, you do it. That's it. Essentially, there's some training sometimes involved if you want to go do training for it. Florida has a good way. They've been doing this since the 90s. They do not have the wildfire problem that California does, even though historically, and when I say historically, I mean prehistorically, they think that California.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to jump in, because Florida is on the East Coast. California's on the West Coast.
Doesn't matter. They burn.
100% it does. Have you ever seen the country from space?
Yeah, but
the entire East Coast is green.
Hold on.
When
let me finish.
When my hometown hosted the American Legion World Series, the teams from the West Coast could not get over how green the countryside was.
Yergs, it's because Florida has planned for this for decades now. Since the 90s, they have been doing controlled burns. And if, look, 4 to 11 million acres of fire would burn every year prehistorically in California. This is what scientists and experts and who, I don't know how they get these numbers. I'm not one of these people, but they estimate that for all of time there have been 4 to 11 million acres burned by wildfires every year, and it's because of the climate and the winds and the dry stuff. And in Florida, they have the same problem. It was roughly the same number of acres, and
Florida's a fraction of the size of California.
Florida's pretty big. I'm saying
it's not near as big as California.
The Southeast has fire problems, and the Southeast has managed to do preventative things where we have not had a wildfire take out an entire city in the Southeast. Southeast is as prone to wildfires as the West, but the West is not doing their job, and the Southeast is. This is government not doing. They at some point in the early 1900s, but actually it was earlier than that, the federal government decided all fires are bad. We got to put them out all the time. They realized pretty quickly into that this was actually bad for the national forests and stuff. They realized that some of these fires have to happen. Most of them started by lightning strikes, or Native Americans would start them way back when to do because they even knew that you needed to do control burns or you had big problems. And at some point, the governments decided, oh, we can't do fire. All fire is bad. We got to put it out immediately. We changed. We obviously realized that was a mistake. And the Southeast, Florida, other states adjusted, and now they do controlled burns. The West has not done that. And like I said, leading up to 2020, California was only doing controlled burns of 13,000 acres when prescribed by experts and the people that have been warning this, the Joe Rogan warning about, he talked to an LA fire guy that was like, it'll happen. The conditions will be perfect and the whole city of LA will burn. And it's not because that guy was some genius. This is what every fire person that knows about wildfires has been saying for decades and trying to get California to go along with it. And they won't do it because they'd rather crap.
Look, Blake, you're 100% right. I mean, this is just this is incompetence. Look, if you have professionals saying that this might happen, then we should start planning for it. It's kind of like saying that a pandemic would happen, and why don't we start planning for it? And when it does happen, everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, what's going on?" There's all these rumors of terrorists.
If we've got both sides saying that experts are saying this, that, and the other thing, we should probably listen to them. There's
a lot of people that are saying, well, sometimes it is experts. Look, people just dismiss
climate change on the table finally. Can we put
people
gun violence on the table
people
finally?
dismiss no. Here's the thing: is people dismiss the experts because they're on the wrong side. So if you're on Joe Rogan saying it, and which people are passing around, it's already dismissed by the whole left because it's Joe Rogan. And honestly, it's Joe Rogan that's saying that there are 1,000 terrorists or in the United States right now coming through the southern border, and people on the show are saying like, "Hey, there's terrorist cells here. This is a possibility.
They're here.
That things could happen, and everybody's like dismissing it because it came from Joe Rogan."
And look, Gavin Newsom himself said they needed to control burns. They just didn't do it.
No, stop. I can tell you that there have been terrorists here domestically since I was in college, and nobody was talking about the border then.
They have increased at the border, Yergs. The Border Patrol has the numbers. It's increased incredibly since Obama and Trump. Like, you look at the numbers.
It's already been dismissed. Yours dismissed it. And I was like, oh, I wonder why nobody listens. There you go, dismissed it. It's not an issue. It's an issue.
The border has encountered hundreds of people at the border that are on the terrorist watch list under Biden's administration, and it was like a dozen under Trump's. It has absolutely increased.
Then if the border is such a problem, if the border is so porous, how do we know that's where they're coming across?
Because these are the ones that they've caught and they've interacted with.
Okay, so we've caught them. Sounds pretty tight to me.
It's not that tight because they're like, okay, whatever. Like this, this is again you having a narrative and just believing it.
But see, that's the issue. What we're talking about. There is a narrative between all. It's like so we keep talking about the Joe Rogan interview and podcast, but that just because it came from that and that's the narrative that he's a nutbag. Then nobody listened to anything that any of these people around are saying. You know, it's like so. Like this is like
Joe Rogan has shows where people eat cockroaches.
I agree. Look, I'm not saying Joe Rogan's an expert, but I'm saying ProPublica.
He had one.
Gavin Newsom.
That was Fear Factor. And if I got paid what he was getting paid to do it, I'll do it too.
Every wildfire expert.
Yeah, but then don't expect yourself to be taken seriously anytime soon after that.
I guess.
Look, the guy stop. The guy has a decade-long biggest podcast in the United States of America with a lot of people on it. Like again, people are just dismissing it because they want to dismiss it.
Backing me with $500,000 a year.
That's not why Joe Rogan's popular. He got paid $100 million to sign exclusively with Spotify because he has
$250. That's his new contract. That is $250. His new contract.
Right. But his first one was $100 million. My point is,
yes, it was, and that was big.
Everything else was internal at that point, so we don't know the numbers.
The guy turned himself into a billionaire podcasting. Anyway, long story short, look, Yerk, stop. Why are you doing this? Are you doing this for the clicks? Are you doing this for the gram right now? Joe has everybody from Andrew Yang to Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump to Neil deGrasse Tyson and everybody else in between. Don't tell me that it's just because he ate cockroaches you can't take him seriously when he has that kind of reach. That's silly.
And I'm not saying Joe Rogan's an expert, and I'm not saying Joe Rogan was right about this. He's just saying on his show before this happened, he just said, I've talked to LA fire people or whatever, and this is a preventable thing, and it's being prevented in other parts of the country. And I'm not saying climate change doesn't have something to do with it. It does, but it's not the excuse. Democrats are using it as an excuse. Oh, climate change is the problem. We can just blame it on that. Well, it's not the problem in Florida, and they've managed to stop the fires. So
no, the flooding is.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about wildfires, and they are preventable. Floods are not very preventable. They are a lot harder to prevent. Tornadoes are hard to prevent. Earthquakes are hard to prevent. Snowstorms are hard to prevent. There's all sorts of other natural disasters that are very hard to prevent. But wildfires are fairly preventable, at least the widespread destruction. You can't stop all fires from happening, but you can stop the amount of destruction that they have and cause. And California has failed over and over again. And until Californians decide that they want competent government and demand that and stop dealing all this other stupid crap that doesn't matter. Like Gavin Newsom is lying about how much controlled burns, even though he admits we need to do more controlled burns. He knows that's the solution, and they still won't do it. And that was 4 years ago that he said that. He announced it in 2018 when he moved in when he won the governorship. We are not doing this wildfire stuff anymore. That's been 7 years, and California has barely improved what they do to prevent wildfires. This is government failure across the board. The U.S. Forestry Service announced in October they weren't doing prescribed burns. They were pausing it indefinitely. Just this last October, they said, we're not doing any more controlled burns because we need to save our resources for when there's actual fires.
We've established that there is a bias to if it goes on a certain network, then you dismiss it, and there's half the country dismissing it because we hear it from one person or another. It has to be.
Yeah, that's why more.
If we want something to get it out, it has to go on Rogan and Brian Tyler Cohen.
Yeah, you got to.
People need to be watching us. We've got the right, we've got the left. Everybody's here.
I like how you pointed at me for the right now. I've moved.
But the ending note on that is I want to say is like, it is a tragedy. And I do not like the right saying that like somehow Los Angeles or California deserves this. I mean, I do think that you do get what you ask for in government. I think Californians have, put their trust in politicians and government that's not doing the job they hope. I hope they self-correct that. But you don't get blamed for that. Even if government does fail, I think blaming the people for that failure is wrong, especially when those politicians have claimed that they're going to do the things that will prevent those things. And it is a tragedy. It's awful. I will say one thing that I don't like about the coverage of the stuff is how every other article is, here's the celebrities that have lost their houses. I frankly don't give two craps about celebrities. There are 10,000 structures. Maybe a couple hundred of them are celebrity owned. I do not care about the celebrities. They're going to be fine. They're rich. Even if they're not insured, they'll build another thing. It's still sad. It's still a tragedy. I just don't want to cover it. I think it's weird.
Yeah. I've lost everything in my life twice.
That sucks.
Because of something like this.
Yeah.
Never once was I in the media.
Right. And so
except for me doing it myself.
The people that the business owners, I mean, it's awful. I mean, it looks apocalyptic. It's absolutely terrible. I hope they can manage to get the fires out, but I mean, right now it looks like there's they've not contained even any of these.
It's supposed to be windy through next week.
Right. And like I said, that's why you have to do the preventative stuff, because it is very, very hard to stop these fires. That's the only way you can prevent them, is by having big giant patches of land that don't have that fuel for these things to keep moving, because these winds are going to happen. The winds have always happened in California. They've gotten hotter because of climate change, but the winds have always been there. This is a pattern. It's just that the season's gotten longer now, and government has to adjust. And if government can't do the basic blocking and tackling of what they're supposed to do, we got to throw them out. We got to say, I think Newsom should go. I think everyone in the government should go in California, because this is a failure on. And by the way, after a failure just a few years ago where we had giant wildfires, they got to go.
Are you countering my dick jokes with football analogies?
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's just a good way to say, like, this is the basic stuff you're supposed to be able to do. And they're trying to do they're trying to solve inequality. It's just not your job. Your job is to prevent this kind of level of tragedy to make the bridges and tunnels and all that kind of stuff work. It's not to, and they even took money away from the fire department to try to solve homelessness. And I don't begrudge them for having that problem of homelessness, although it's kind of a problem they created. Just one more thing.
I just imagine Blake's wife as this very quiet, patient individual that deals with Blake day in and day out, just deals with him.
She does deal with me for sure. She deals with me a lot more than I do.
Is this your therapy? You get to actually vent finally?
Oh, I vent all the time. No, this is me. Everyone, this is me. Has always been me. It's a prickly thing. You either love or hate me, I think.
Oh, by the way, congratulations, Oklahoma, on 2 things. Number one is you guys might approve a Bitcoin reserve, and also you guys just can't beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. So
that broke our 15-game streak. I was bummed. Hey, but it'll be fun. Maybe some fun playoffs. We could be seeing each other in the finals. But
my team's out too. Penn State lost last night in the last 12 seconds. Notre Dame put a field goal to 27-24.
Yep. The Bitcoin thing I've not looked into very much. I didn't know about it until you sent it to me. I know one thing was just about being like paid in Bitcoin, but I haven't seen the reserve thing, so I'll have to look into that some more.
Yeah, you guys guarantee self-custody too, which is something weird that you have to what's the word? Well, actually put that into law, but
yeah,
I talk about that. Because that's actually on the list. Bitcoin is actually back down below 100,000 again. It's leveling off, I think, at 95.
No.
And hey, I want to get back in a little bit more than what I am. If I would have, I had to clear out at about 55,000 because I needed the money. Florida screwed me with the financial aid I was supposed to get for adopting Zach, and that never happened. So I had to clear out at 55,000. But oh god, if I would have stayed in, I mean, literally, it would have doubled.
Hey, should we talk about what do we want? Do we want to talk about H-1B or do we want to talk about Trump's expansionist plans?
Oh, I love expansionist plans. Yes, let's do that.
Stuff. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So
Greenland. Who wants to give us the rundown?
Greenland. What I don't understand are I get the Panama Canal.
Yeah, the short version of this is Trump wants to. He's talked about Canada in the United States, Greenland, Panama Canal. Among other things, and it's kind of opened up this
thing. And he wants to show just how big he's not, because that was already talked about in open court too.
Yeah.
So things that get skipped over, but I get the Panama Canal, even though he has no legal justification for it. I get the strategy.
We don't need it, America, baby.
Well, but Panama Canal. I understand a little bit because China does. Control some stuff outside of it. They're not supposed to have any kind of thing.
They don't control the canal.
They don't control it. No, but they have some, what is it, like ports or something like that, where I think they're worried about, like, in a conflict, what would they do?
Fine. You know what? If we're worried about China controlling things that's going to be against our interests, and we're also worried about not supporting the flag that's in our background right now because we need to worry about things at home, why don't we nationalize all of the Chinese properties that have been purchased around literally all of the strategic military bases?
Yeah, I don't think we should allow China. I don't think we should allow Chinese nationals to own land in the United States.
Whoa, wait! Don't you have some kind of like cheering sound or anything, Ross, for that of us all agreeing on something like at once without even a discussion about it?
I had
some confetti or something.
I think they could even blanket it. I don't even think you have to target it to China. I think you'd say like you can't own. Like you could. Let them own like
anything with property.
There you go. There's my confetti. You see, I got it.
How'd you do that?
It's on his camera.
Yeah, I don't have that.
I have do it on this computer.
Well, I mean, when we talk about China owning property, this is what I have to say.
First of all, what? What?
That's it. That's all I got.
Wake up, guys. Okay. guys want to hear my conspiracy theory real quick?
Sure.
Give me one and a half minute. Okay. So everybody says that this is kind of crazy, Greenland, Panama Canal, these other places, whatever. Here's my conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory is Trump has already been talking to these places, and he understands what's going to happen. He knows that China is doing an imperialistic financial march into Africa, these other places, the Middle East, the Stans, South America. They're probably going to go into Taiwan, and he's like, okay, this is what's happening in that region. South Korea had a coup. Like, where did that come from? All we know is if they did, pull that off, that weakens the United States and Western influence in that area. So, and we have Russia. It's in Ukraine. Trump's probably going to side with Russians here and Putin. Who knows how much Ukraine's going to have to cede to that and whatever. I don't know how that's going to turn out. Will Russia actually go and try to take somewhere else like Poland, whatever? Who knows? All we know is that there's maybe, and look, what I see is a couple different power vacuums here that are happening with BRICS and whatever. And Trump's saying, like, look, if we're going to be in this place of this imperialistic march between these two other places that are very strong, Russia and China, we got to get ours too. And how are we going to pull the coalitions of Western places? So we have America, Canada, you're going to be a state too. Greenland, you're going to get in there. We're going to take all this northern hemisphere. We have receding ice caps as well in the North Pole. So that can be a shipping route if we can get through that now. If those ice caps go away. And so we need to have this Western bloc that is now all coalesced under the United States. We're going to be Russian and Eastern European bloc, and we're going to put England and the UK and France and Spain into our bloc, and then China's going to have theirs. And that's how he's, I think, strategically moving this forward.
So do you think that finally the world is at a world war?
No.
Oh, geez. Oh,
until two major powers are in conflict with each other, then no.
Russia is not a major power?
In conflict with each other.
No, it doesn't.
Russia and Ukraine doesn't count. Israel, Iran doesn't count.
That's the point of a world war.
It's got to be it's got to be actual Iran and Israel fighting each other.
I said this was a conspiracy theory, by the way. This is my conspiracy theory, but you guys just let it go.
Yeah. No, I think it's.
No, I think this is why I've always said
I'm brilliant. Yes, I got it. Thank you, Jurgs.
What's that?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Sitting presidents, especially because they know things that they're not allowed to talk about, but presidential candidates should watch what they promise during the course of a campaign.
Well, yeah, but that's
because they make we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. And then they sit down in one of those rooms where you can't hear from outside, and they get this thing called a briefing. And they go, oh, that's why that promise is never going to take shape.
Or events, isn't that the classic quote? Classic quote. And events happen.
And so with what Matt's saying, there's legitimacy behind that.
Yeah.
If A equals B, and B equals C, then A equals C. If we've got Chinese people and government agencies and whatever else making strategic purposes right here in the United States,
yeah,
you don't think they're not doing that somewhere else where they can muscle through the whole thing?
Look, I really think that. I really do think, and I'm gonna stop discounting your world war thing because I just don't like the word. But is there a global conflict that's happening or a global positioning that's happening right now? I think you're 100% right to that. And I do, sure, and I do think that the United States has to start thinking about, okay, if this is happening, how do we bolster the United States dollar, which is doing a good job, by the way. But are these different policies that are going to be put in place going to bolster the U.S. dollar if BRICS happen and start to, start going to say, using the Chinese yuan as forms of trade or any other kind of currency, which will very much hurt the United States, and everybody knows that. And they are actually and not us, the United States, but Russia and China and Iran with probably Russian influence or Chinese influence. With Hezbollah and Hamas and all these different are making strategic moves to consolidate power. And so look, Greenland is not a bad idea.
No, and
Canada is not a bad idea. Panama Canal is not a bad idea.
No.
Look, the idea that America will go there militarily take it is a bad idea, but that's not what he's talking about. I think it's more of like, hey, I personally think it's more of like, hey, let's just talk to Denmark. Let's talk to Canada. We need to consolidate this in a little more.
Don't you think
strategic
it's
fashion.
smarter? Not only smarter, not only more diplomatic, but actually strategically more intelligent to create the diplomacy and the network with rich countries like Denmark,
I'm still listening. I just got to wait for 1 second.
or close partners like Canada,
Well, that's what they. I mean, that's what they're
or
going to do.
strategic locations like Panama.
Yeah, I mean, the Greenland thing I'd heard before Trump was even president. I'd heard that floated, although I don't know that there's a huge.
Here's my question about that. We all know why really Trump wants all these properties, and it's because it's property.
Yeah, he just
It's
thinks
his
a real estate
legacy.
thing. Yeah.
Does he know that Greenland is not as big as what it looks like?
You know, I think so, probably. I think that that's been the narrative in the media is that he doesn't know that it's not the size it is on the whatever the map, that projection that makes everything up north look bigger.
Well,
than it really
if you look at a flat map,
Yeah.
the whole northern third of the northern hemisphere, same thing in the south, is distorted.
Right. And so, but listen, I think
use
that
one of those maps that's in like when you unpeel a globe and there's like the space in between because
yeah, I know. I just
haven't
think
seen one of those in 20 years.
I think that there's two things happening at the same time, which is weird to me. I think one, people are immediately rushing to the judgment that this is just Trump and he's an idiot and he doesn't know that Greenland is small and he doesn't know that it's covered in ice. I don't think
Check.
I don't think that's
Check.
true. I don't think that's true necessarily. I also don't think he's playing 3D chess and that this is some great negotiating tactic. I think he's just saying what comes to his brain
Slinky.
when it happens.
He's not playing chess. He's playing with a slinky and
Right,
he's trying
and
to go upstairs.
So like I said, I don't think the Panama and Greenland strategically are terrible ideas, especially if you're concerned about the Chinese potential or trying to take the Panama Canal or something. Now we already have a treaty with Denmark where we would defend Greenland. It's already a strategic thing. We already have military there. We already have some stuff. So I don't know how much we gain strategically militarily if we are in a World War III situation by having Greenland, because we already have not a treaty with them. We have it's like what we have with Ukraine too. We already had a thing that said we'll defend you if blah blah blah. So,
well, Greenland's a part of NATO because they're actually owned by Denmark.
Well, but not tech. They're not really. They're an independent thing now. It's
like Canada. It's still owned by the United Kingdom. That's why it's called the United Kingdom.
Yeah, Canada. The Canada one is the dumbest one of all of them, though. I think because I don't think there's any realistic way that would ever happen. I think you're more likely to have
much more is ceremonial, but it is still legitimate.
Right, but it's not.
The UK has Canada, Australia, parts of India, some countries in Africa,
a few islands,
Belize in Central America.
Yeah,
they're all part of the They're all independent countries.
Right.
They all do their day-to-day thing, and the king doesn't know squat from anything else. But when he visits Belize, or when Prince William visited Belize, it was an official visit.
Yeah, but I don't think they're technically in the United Kingdom.
They are.
I think they're technically a little different than that. We'd have to look that up.
The Queen, until recently, was on Canadian money.
I know, but that's a monarchy thing. That's a monarchy thing, not a government thing. And so there is a difference. Correct. I think, yeah.
There's two things that are an authority within a country: the chief of state and the chief of government. The president is both.
They're not, though. Belize achieved full independence from United Kingdom on September 21st, 1981. So
they're still part of the United Kingdom.
They're not. They're totally independent from the United Kingdom.
They might still have like Commonwealth status where
they have
citizens can go there and
kind of thing, but they're not part of the United Kingdom.
Like they're not part, but it's kind of like Hong Kong. Like people in Hong Kong can pop over to the UK if they want to.
If Belize gets attacked, we do not have to defend them as a NATO country.
Anyway, long story short, there's two things that I really thought were good.
NATO. They're part of the United Kingdom.
No, United Kingdom is in NATO.
That's the United Kingdom.
Right. What I'm saying, Belize is not part of the United Kingdom in a way where if they got attacked, we would have to defend them as a NATO country. It's not. It is. I don't think so.
I've been there 17 times. I promise you it is.
I mean, I'd have to look into that.
I like how yours always does that. He's like, I've been there, so I know.
I've seen more United States warships in the Caribbean off the coast of Belize than I've seen Belize warships off the coast of Belize.
I bet you the South Koreans and the Japanese could say the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, well, I don't know all the details of how. You're right. I know the Queen still. I know, like when the Queen died, there was like ceremonies in Canada and stuff like that. But I know Canada is in no way in the United Kingdom. They're not legally.
Then you need to reprint all of their money because the Queen was on it. The two most important
things. Not
anymore. The Queen was on Canada's too, bro.
The two most important things to Canadians were on their money: the Queen and hockey.
Oh, you were talking about Canada. I thought you were talking about Belize.
Yeah, I mean, either way, I don't.
The Queen is on Belizean money. I've got some in the other room.
Okay, who cares? Anyway, what does this have to do with anything?
Used to.
Yeah, I don't think the Canada thing happens for so many reasons. There's not going to be a 51st state. I don't see any reason we should add.
When the Prime Minister
can't make Canada one state. That's crazy.
Well, I don't think it should be 7 states either. I mean, I don't think we need to add Canada to the United States. Mainly, I don't want their troubles.
Okay. So I've heard a couple of good theories about this, like reasons, and it's interesting to explore. Number one is just to secure the United States dollar. The more people you start actually bringing it into the United States, the more you would have
down to the Canadian dollar.
Yeah, but it would bring it down, wouldn't it? I mean, we'd be inheriting their economic woes.
But you also be adding the United States dollar to their circulation, so you're actually requiring people to circulate U.S. dollars
in their circulation.
I would be interested to talk to.
No, they use the Canadian dollar. That's what we were just talking about. That
I would be much more.
Talking about George Washington's, not Queen Elizabeth's.
I would be interested to talk to someone that actually knows a lot more about like monetary valuation and stuff like that. To know, does that benefit the dollar? Does it not benefit the dollar? Because I would imagine, because Joe Rogan like retweeted or reposted the Donald Trump true thing and said, and we should do it with Mexico too. And I'm like, okay, talk about further devaluing the dollar. That seems like a really bad way to.
No, you wouldn't. That wouldn't devalue the dollar. You're quoting.
You don't think it would if we brought Mexico in as a state?
You're quoting Joe Rogan, who's quoting.
Those are two different things. You're talking about the dollar, and you're not talking about like the overall like per capita GDP. Those are two different things,
right?
But having dollars in circulation at different places to that would only increase the GDP of the United States if it was a state, because more dollars in circulation, because that's how you count the GDP.
But you also have
China has half of the U.S. currency in circulation.
They don't have half of the currency in circulation. They have it, but they're not circulating it. They're not transacting in it.
That's the point.
They don't have half of our dollars.
I don't think they have half of it either.
I would be surprised if that was true. No, but I'm just saying, yes, you're right. More in circulation, but at the same time, if you take those in as part of the country, you have a lot of cost and inflationary effects potentially too. Look, with Canada,
I get as far as how much of U.S. currency does, and what gets filled in, China have. Let's find out. China's foreign exchange reserves totaled $3.265 trillion, which is the highest foreign exchange reserves of any country. The management of foreign exchange reserves is governed by the State Administration of Foreign Exchange, SAFE.
That's half of 1 year of our budget. So there's no way that's half of the entire United States currency that's out there.
But it's the largest reserve of any foreign country.
So they have half of our budget. So what, 2 trillion, 2.5? What do you say?
Well, that didn't say specifically US dollars. It just said in foreign currency.
Roughly 3.3 trillion
in foreign currencies. It didn't say just US, right?
No, in US dollars.
I mean US dollars. Okay, well, that's half of one budget.
That's
a lot.
That's like 12% of our GDP.
Right, but that's what they would. It's smart. I mean, they should do that. It's still the dollar is still the
100%. And I think they don't even hold, and even so, I think other countries hold more, right?
And it probably holds more value than theirs right now. I mean, like China could be heading towards a depression.
It is the largest.
Yeah, China goes into depression. We're not going to be happy.
Like you just said it. I think they've got that because their own economy sucks. How much is $1 worth in China?
Their 10-year yields right now is below 1.6%.
7.33
Well,
yen.
and that's what they tell us it is, by the way.
Right, and that's because they were doing a lot of stimulus as well. So
And they're
like,
probably lying about that number. I mean, like most people think that those numbers are actually much lower than what the Chinese government is telling us. And so, yeah, you're right. It's
and you saw our 10 years are up to like 4.7%.
yeah. And so what I'm
That's
worried
phenomenal.
about, what
It's
I'm
gonna
worried
keep going
about
up.
globally is it's pretty clear that like what you mentioned, Matt and Jurgs, is that China's obviously making plays for Africa and other regions, and Iran obviously is making plays for the whole Middle East, and North Korea for Korean Peninsula, and we're having all these little geostrategic, like they're trying to take over these areas. The United States, in electing Donald Trump and this whole sort of America first thing, are in a kind of a weird position. Like, do you just sit back and let all that happen? And
No.
but the problem is that like that's what he ran on, is like, we're not doing this crap anymore.
But that's the thing
Okay,
is, United
well, he
States isn't
also
already.
ran on making
they're not-
groceries cheaper.
I
and
know,
he's already wiped that one out.
I know, but here's the difference. The difference is
My eggs are $7 a
actually
dozen
has
over here.
control over foreign policy. He doesn't have control over grocery prices. I'm not saying he won't get blamed for that in the future, but if he goes out there and says, we're not, like, his whole claim to fame in this last election was we had no global conflict when I was president, which is not true. It's not true at all.
We've always said,
but we
there hasn't been a president that hasn't had some sort of global conflict.
To be fair to Trump, Russia did not actually do anything in Ukraine while he was president, and he did for Bush, Obama, and Biden. So there's at least some truth to that kernel of thing that he said.
Let's sit down Putin right now and ask him, how did that work out for you?
Well,
let me give him a call. I got him on text. I got him on WhatsApp over here. Let me go WhatsApp him.
So here's the problem that I think Trump has.
It's supposed to take 2 weeks. He can't even do in 3 years.
The trouble that Trump has is that you can't promise we're going to be America first. We're going to get out of all these conflicts. These conflicts are stirring right now. Like I disagree that we're in World War III, but we are certainly headed towards World War III unless something changes. Like that's just, I think, the fact. You can't avoid that. If World War III breaks out, we're going to have to make a decision of if we do we get involved or do we not. With NATO, we are required to. Of course, if he goes back on NATO, I think that would be an absolute shame. But the bigger problem is
done it.
Well, he hasn't actually. But a NATO country has not been attacked, and we didn't send our troops. Like, that's not happened. We're the only people that have benefited from the NATO treaty. Actually, we're the only people after September 11th that have been like, we're attacked, and people came and had our back, and that's why you had British and these other and German soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq.
We'll kick their butt.
So the problem is going to be is that we think that if we abandon all these people, if we abandon NATO countries, they will, like, Trump's trying to play hardball with everyone. Trump's trying to say, he's trying to bully everyone in this stuff. The problem is if our allies think they're abandoned by us, they might not have the option but to deal with China in a way that they feel lets them survive. And we think that all of our allies will do the same, do what we want them to do with China if we abandon them. And I think that's incredibly foolish. And I think what will end up happening is that Europe will look out for Europe, and they will do what's good for them. And that might mean capitulating China to a degree where China takes over everything except what we've got in the United States. And I think that's a dangerous position.
You mentioned something earlier about, I think Matt had stepped away, about Trump not playing 3D checkers. And I said, or chess rather. And I said, he's not even playing chess or checkers. He's playing with a slinky and trying to go uphill. And you now just mentioned Europe. And by the way, speaking of the para or normal guys, on Wednesdays, Sportcat checking in. There was the interview with Trump on Twitter, and I, as I've said before, refuse to call it X.
Is this the one with him and Elon, like
Twitter.
The audio one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it sucked. Trump showed his true colors by showing how stupid he is. And God love him, as much as I don't, Elon put up with him. Do you see now how we could be at World War?
Man, you really want to hit this one home. You really do, man.
Hear this out.
It's been like 4 months, and you're still trying to get us to concede and bend the knee.
And I've been right all 4 months because now Mr. Doge Committee.
Listen, sir,
doesn't care about the Doge Committee.
33% of this podcast, this radio show, does not agree. Only agrees with this theory. 67% is against you, sir.
It's mostly that I think you're not wrong.
Now, listen. I muted, for those not seeing the screen, I muted both of these knuckleheads. He is spending his money as we speak supporting far right wing, and I mean literally. I'm not just using the word because I call Trump and DeSantis that every week, because they are. I mean, he's literally supporting the Nazi party in Western Europe. Yeah.
Do you not think that degrades your calling Trump a Nazi when then you get, no, these are actually Nazis over here?
Because Trump, there was one thing I was wrong about. Trump is not Hitler. Musk is.
I also think that's overreach too.
Trump is Himmler. Trump is the head of Musk's SS. That's what this is coming down to. He is right now. He just interviewed her, the head of the Nazi party in Germany.
It's not the Nazi party. That's not what it is. Don't hold on. Wait, you don't. It's not called the Nazi party. I know they're far right, but they're not calling it
the Nazi party.
Don't call it that. You can't claim you're
not legally allowed to be called the Nazi party. That is what they are.
You can't claim to be informing people and then say something that's blatantly not true. I just disagree.
It's true.
It's not. They are not the Nazi party. They're far right. I disagree with what Elon Musk is doing there. I don't like him interfering in elections, but they're not the Nazi party. Don't call them that.
That's what they are. That's what literally everybody calls them.
There you go, Yergs. I got. My friend agrees with you.
Who's your friend?
I'm not telling you. You're not going to get an ally from me.
My point is just just say things can be bad without you having to go to the extreme of calling them Nazis. That's my point.
I don't call everybody Nazi.
You call everyone Nazi so far that you disagree with it. You literally have called Ron DeSantis a Nazi, Donald Trump a Nazi.
He's a fascist. Ron DeSantis is a fascist.
Fascist and Nazi are different words, by the way, and I wouldn't even agree with the fascist thing necessarily. But my point is, this is what's wrong with politics. This is what's wrong with politics. Everyone turns off.
You're a far right nut. I don't call you a Nazi.
Far right nut.
Whoa,
I mean, that's crazy right now.
Whoa, Ross. Not cool, Ross.
No, this is not. This is the problem. This is what I got into doing this thing, is because I'm tired of
don't you mute us.
I'm tired of people exaggerating how bad something is when it's already bad enough that it should be just the truth should be good enough. But instead, people exaggerate things.
Everybody calls her the head of the German Nazi party.
Everybody who?
Like the world. That's all you hear.
Does the BBC
media calls her the Nazi?
Does the BBC call her the head of the Nazi party?
What?
Does the BBC in headlines call her the head of the Nazi party?
I haven't followed her on the BBC. I don't know.
I bet they don't.
I look at her policies.
Okay.
More. I look at how far right she is.
My point is, the second you say Nazi,
the listeners are ringing the bell. Ken says rings the bell. Travis says ring the bell. Sports Cat News ring the bell. Ding ding ding. We need a round. We need a break. Go get some water. Get to the corners, Blake. Get to the corners, Yergs. Let's take out your mouthpieces. Let's towel you off for a minute, and you guys rest up.
It's called Friday Fights.
Let's get a nice looking girl out here with a number. Walk around the ring. Or a didgeridoo, whatever you like, Yergs. We can have both of them. We can have both of them.
Didgeridoo these days, you know.
Yeah, right. He's here. Speaking of which, he has the app that I tried to use that didn't work for crap. So I got to get him set up with the phone system again now that we have one again. And by the way, Tuesday or Monday at 2:30, if you want to join us, Sportcat, we're doing the training on that. And if Blake, if you're going to go live with the homeless homo or whatever yours is,
what?
Whoa.
By the way,
Whoa.
BBC, Musk interviews German far-right frontwoman. Shocker that they didn't use the term Nazi. And by the way, Jurgs, here's what's ridiculous.
He's polite.
Here's what's ridiculous. I agree with you that I don't like what Elon Musk is doing. My point is there's a better way to convince people that what he's doing is scary than to call him Hitler.
Like, I don't know. Maybe look at the fact that he did the same thing here, and now he's got control.
I don't
of the
think
most powerful man in the world.
I don't think he has as much. I mean, look, we can talk. There will be a falling out. My prediction for 2025, there will be a falling out between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's going to happen.
You're playing the numbers. You're not looking at evidence. You're playing the numbers, and you're right because
no, I have looked at it. We saw the start of it like a couple weeks ago with the whole, and we're seeing it with the H-1B visa stuff. We're seeing it with lots of things.
Kids liking it. Almost homo.
I thought that it wasn't cool to call people homos and fags, but
that was
whoa. We're not dropping. Nobody gave you the F word card, Blake.
What's the difference in?
And you hit the hard G too, man.
No,
can we just take a step back in this conversation? Come on, guys.
I'm just saying, like, there are better ways to convince people that this is behavior that we might. There's a great Free Press article that someone wrote about this Elon thing, basically saying he's literally the most influential person in global politics, maybe ever. And that's,
I can see that.
I'll give you that link too, because it's really worth the read. But like I said, when we jump to these extremes, I think people just tune it out. And I think that that's not good for anyone.
I remember when
that's why
I wanted to partake.
I only call people Nazis who are Nazis and who are fascists.
I think it would benefit you to never use those two words again.
No.
I think your argument would be better.
I live here.
But
Ron DeSantis stood in my driveway.
I know.
And told me help is on the way.
Yeah, I get it.
That is the last time that I heard from the state of Florida.
Here's what's funny is that I find myself defending Trump and Ron DeSantis around you, even though I don't really like either one of them either. But the point is,
learn a little bit about them.
But you go to a degree of that. I think just like people this just turns into if I don't agree with you, you're my enemy. And I don't think that these people are Nazis.
I don't think you're my enemy. I was talking you up on Wednesday, by the way.
I think they're authoritarian for sure. I think that's a fair label to put on people that like they would prefer to be more authoritarian. Fascist gets thrown around too much, although I think absolutely Donald Trump has fascistic tendencies. Is that the right way to say that? But I just think that it would still, even though he has that, I don't call him a fascist because I know it doesn't help convince anyone that likes him that they shouldn't.
So the link I just sent you both, I'm going to put on the screen as we start to get close.
Oh my God. Here he is flexing again with Hillary Clinton. Don't flex with Hillary Clinton, dude. It is not a flex. That's not what you think it is.
No one likes Hillary Clinton. I can promise you that.
No, it's not what you think it is, sir.
Talk about being misunderstood, but I'm going to put this in the chat. There you go. If you want a personal message from me, I am now on Cameo. Oh, that's the Messenger. Why is it going to Messenger? That's stupid.
Maybe it is.
Say happy birthday. Ask a question. Receive a pep talk. Get advice.
I can
book that out. You can get well, we have to pump Jurgs really quick. If you want a Hillary Clinton supporter, Hillary Clinton, if you want Jurgs to say the person who guarded Hillary Clinton herself to give you a shout out for $25, he will. Happy birthday. You can give you advice, and for an extra $25, he will tell you a Hillary Clinton story.
The best birthday present I ever got was a cameo, actually.
Really? Who was it by?
From who? Who was it?
Justin Hawkins from The Darkness, my buddy. it was awesome.
Nice. That's cool.
How does your head fit in those headphones?
Who says that?
Sports cat shows.
That's funny.
That's good. That's good.
And by the way, far right even doesn't mean what it used to mean. I'm just looking at that headline again because I just feel like we label everything. Because you just said about me.
Far right has been normalized.
Right, but you just called me far right a second ago, and that's my point. Is that like
I mean,
that doesn't mean
everybody
anything
else on the show. That's what you're here for.
That's like calling me far left, bro. Come on.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is that like
Compared
the far
to
right
everybody
thing,
else, you used to think I was the one that was far left.
these
You are.
these buzzwords.
You're left of both of us, bro.
I
You are.
agree. Yeah.
Let me see. What can I add? There we go. Let me put it in here. Why is that?
Yeah, but let's be honest about what Musk plans are here. This is all about money for him. This is really not about anything else. Like it's not. There's no strategy here for even power. I don't think. I think it's just fame.
Did you guys hear the conspiracy theory about the Nazi rocket science that wrote the book that had Elon in the name in the book, and then his dad was friends with them and named Elon because of the book, and the guy in the fictional story was did you see this?
No, I've not.
And then the guy in the fiction. This is great. Just give me a second here. I'm gonna look this up. Give me a second. I'll come.
Yeah,
this is real.
Okay,
this is real. Give me 1 second. You guys talk. Give me 2 seconds to find this. 1 second.
Well, I am adding my link to Jurgs on Cameo. Get a message now. Upload image. And this is why I need a producer. You know, I could maybe have somebody doing this. I don't know. Have it ready for the show. What are you looking for, by the way? I missed that. What are you? Oh, that one sucks. Upload image. Try again. Do this one instead. There we go. Create. All right. There you go. Oh. Jurg's on Cameo. Get a message now. Scan the QR code. And I'll send you a message. Or you can just text me through like the show and I'll reply for free. Super fan Ken keeping us all straight, or as much as possible. He said far right nut.
Yeah, to be fair, and I do only have one nut, so then maybe that's
okay. So you guys want to hear this?
Really? Yeah. I want
to
say I knew that.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a couple times.
Not because anyway.
No, not an accident. It was surgically removed.
Okay, so you guys want to hear this or not?
Yes,
so
I do.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
Okay, so there's a book called Project Mars. It's by Werner von Braun, the guy who did the rockets for the Nazis back in the 40s during World War II, right?
Yeah.
So he moved to the United States in 1948. He wrote this novel. And the whole thing about this novel is, let me see here, the plot revolves around a group of explorers embarking on a mission to Mars aboard a fleet of spacecraft. Once they reach Mars, the crew discovers a habitable environment with signs of life. The person who is leading that colony there is named Elon. The Elon, they called him. And anyway, the Elon, so what happened is that I guess his dad, Elon's dad, named Elon after the Elon because of this book. And just so happens, as you know, Elon is trying to get to Mars and lead the whole thing to Mars. But there's actually more about this book. I want to let me see here.
Life imitating art to a nth degree there for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, it looks as it was like almost a blueprint of space travel, and apparently just this whole thing inspires Musk. But it all has big connections of like creating this whole the whole thing about the whole book was multi-planet society. We have to leave Earth because Earth is dying and we have to become a multi-planetary species. And the Elon was the leader of the group.
Crazy. No,
Crazy.
I did not know that. That is bizarre because there's really no one else that could possibly, it'd be different. Like you hear people being named after books or pop culture characters. That happens fairly often. That's not unusual. But the difference there is that obviously if someone was a musician in a book and then you name your kid after that and they become a musician, that's not that crazy of a coincidence. But to try to go to Mars, which basically no one has ever tried to
super
do,
crazy.
That's, you know what I mean? That's a very narrow.
But then you have to have the not even the will, the drive, everything had to work out that Elon was the Elon going like, and this is written by some Nazi rocket scientist. Like, that's just crazy, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
interesting.
There's a whole thing about this, and I'll send you the I will send you the link so you guys can watch it on your spare time. Because sports cat shows is making sure to take jabs at us, talking to us that we make boring radio. So you know what, sports cat, who are you? I don't know who you are, but come on, so I can I can meet you face to face or ear to ear.
Stay on topic next week. There's just a lot this week. We didn't even get to H-1B visas. Everyone I know was on the edge of their seat waiting for us to talk about H-1B visas. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, though.
Everyone, absolutely.
H-1B is not the new bird flu. It's different.
Well,
that's funny.
It is according to some Republicans that don't like.
Yeah, it's a weird discussion. We should talk about that next week for sure, because I think it's interesting, and I think we need to. I think that's a real thing. That's like, oh yeah, we should talk about this policy and what are the upsides and downsides. And most people are not interested in that, and that bums me out a little bit because it's something that makes a real difference.
Brenda will have that guy on the show. The author of the book, I think he's dead, isn't he?
No. She's talking about somebody else from that was sent. Man, you need a producer.
It was sent 4 minutes ago.
Brenda will have that guy on the show.
Brenda
this was what you were talking about. No, this was what you were talking about when I was looking for the book. Whatever you were talking about between that interim.
I don't remember what we were talking about because it's been 5 minutes.
Yeah, really. So
speaking of good people,
I was doing some genealogy the other night, and I looked at I would
come on, but yours would just call me names. Glenn says this. I think this is his name now. He's either Glenn Campbell or Campbell Soup. I would come on, but he would just call me names because he's slow. Yeah, he is slow. Yes, guys.
And Sport Cat of all people knows what it's like to try to host a show.
Oh, so you know this? You know this person?
That's the Wednesday para or normal guy.
Oh, okay.
He's not a sports guy. He's a paranormal guy.
Well, he's got that, and he's also got Saturday. He's got a show called The Misfits. Although I think he's
a paranormal. So he believes in ghosts and goblins and poltergeists and stuff.
And well, he's not a ghost guy. He does not do ghosts.
Then that's out of his wheelhouse, huh? Okay. Yeah. So Ouija boards is off the limit. So is it everything ghost related, or is it just certain ghost things?
No, he does mostly like Bigfoot. That's why I
well, that's not paranormal, right? That's just more conspiracy, isn't it?
No, it's paranormal. That's to me paranormal.
See, I think of paranormal as like
paranormal.
I see your son likes girls. He's on your team.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw him walk through the back of your frame with a girl. My man.
Yeah. Cute couple.
That's what I'm talking about.
Everybody on the radio is saying hi to you too.
Oh, that's not what we're saying.
All right. Well, I got to get out of here because my kids are out of school because it snowed all day yesterday and today, and we can't handle that in Oklahoma. I know up in Ohio they've got things like plows and salt, and apparently, shut down at the first sight of snow.
1 or 2 inches in DC closed down the entire DMV.
That's what she said.
Yeah,
it's too easy.
Yeah, right.
See ya.
All right. See you guys.
All right. See you guys.
Bye, everybody. Great fights again. Well done. Love you guys. Great show. Enjoy your weekend. And
balloons.
It's balloons. Yeah. I gotta get that stuff. That's pretty cool. You get the heart.
It's a Mac thing.
No hearts.
No.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll see you again. I will be back Monday. We'll be back on KSHP on Monday. I don't know if we lost them or not. I think we did because I wanted to do the second hour today or every day. But they've got something else that comes on at 9:00 local time. So, all right, gang, good arguments today. Good information. hopefully you were listening and watching and checking out the show notes. You can go to, you'll have to email me because right now yergs.com is coming up hopefully next week. But if you email me news at NEWZ, NEWZ at YERGZ, I can send you the show notes where you get the links and everything that we talked about during the course of the day. And that's it. You can get Blake at the Homeless Homo. No, wrong. Homeless Conservative. Blake at thehomelessconservative.com. Matt can be reached at matt@dailycryptonews.net and info@demurforcongress.com. Check out DNR Studios by going to dnrstudios.com. That's one of our upcoming affiliates for the show. WZQR. I know I've been on this. Yeah. Go to WZQR.FM. They are hosted by Live 365, one of the former radio hosts that we worked with. We couldn't get that to work as well, where you can find 7 different stations. I don't know where the WZQR comes from. Actually, I do, because we will be on terrestrial radio when we start with these guys, hopefully next week. WZQR.FM is their website. Scroll all the way down to choice number 7, and that is WZQR.FM Talks. That's where we will be on the internet stations, but we will be on their AM/FM station as well that covers that general area. Somebody's still... And yes, correct. Presumably around the 2:00 area Eastern. Let me know if I'm right about that, or if you got another time. But Sportcat will be doing another live show starting, I'm hoping, this coming week, whenever he's ready, for an hour new show Monday through Friday. I think you're doing it 5 days a week, and is it definitely at 2 Eastern? Let me know in the chat, and we'll put that out there. I'll make. Well, I'm not going to do a graphic with like artwork because you didn't tell me what that's going to be yet. But we'll definitely start promoting it as soon as Monday morning. That's it for me and us and all of us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for going with us up the middle and running with the big dogs and fighting with the big dogs. Communists, Nazis, libtards, wokies, all of us. Thanks for joining. Yep, at 1400. So 2 p.m. Eastern. Let's see, -3 is 11 Pacific for the Sportcat News Hour. I don't know what it's actually going to be called, but we'll find out hopefully on Monday. All right, gang. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. Thanks for going with us up the middle. I'm Yergs. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.